What's up, guys? Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and today we are talking about WWE Saturday Night's main event. A show that sort of was a mixed bag, in my opinion. My expectations going into this show might have not been where they were supposed to be. Nothing really super important happened on the show. Nothing really of high note happened. No title changes, no big returns, no big storyline developments, but we did get some very good matches on this card, and I'm excited to talk about them. If you guys like this video, please consider liking, leaving a comment, or subscribing, as it does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with all that being said, let's get into it with our first match. So first up was Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn, and I think going into it, both myself and a lot of the viewing audience sort of had two expectations for the way this match was going to go. It was either going to be sort of the classic back and forth match where Drew dominated a lot of the early part to set up a lot of hope spots for Sammy at the end, sort of like this classic pay-per-view dominant heel versus babyface style. Or we were going to get a complete squash. 5 minutes or less, Drew comes in, wrecks Sammy. Maybe one hope spot for Sammy, maybe. But really, it was just Drew looking dominant. And we didn't get either of those. We got some sort of weird amalgamation in the middle where it went probably about 10 minutes. And it was really just back and forth throughout. And I don't feel like necessarily it was the best story to service either character. Drew didn't look particularly more dominant than he did in his Punk feud as a result of this match. And Sammy didn't really get anything out of it either. He didn't look any more like the underdog babyface who everyone wants to see conquer the world than he did going into the match. So I don't really know how this story serviced either character. And overall, it sort of just felt like a TV match, but on a little bit of a bigger stage. And going into this show, whether it's like a PLE or just a TV show, I don't exactly know what it is, but this was really the benchmark for what the show was going to be. The first match sets the standard because I wasn't alive when most of Saturday Night Main Event were coming out in like the early 90s, and when they were happening in the mid 2000s I wasn't watching WWE at the time. So this was my first Saturday Night Main Event to go into. So I had almost no expectations for what it was. I had excitement and what I wanted to see happen, but really in terms of what we've gotten in the past, I had no idea. So this was sort of the benchmark for what the show was going to be. And it started out on kind of a bad note because while the match was good, it was sort of just mid. Having said all that, though, the action we got was good. If this was a main event of a Raw or SmackDown, we'd be very excited to get it because it's two of the biggest characters in the company going out and just having a great TV match. Drew looked really good. All of his offense was awesome. He had a nice spine buster in here. All of his overhead throws and suplexes looked good. And Sammy, for his part, also played his role very well. Normally, when Sammy's like, sort of on the defensive and doing a lot of selling, he can look, in my opinion, a little bit goofy or like over the top a little bit a lot of times. But I think he nailed the tone in this match. I do think he oversold a little bit. Like some of his selling didn't really match the offense Drew was putting out. But for the most part, these two meshed really well. And we've seen these guys have matches in the past, so we know they can work well together. But once again, it was just sort of there. Like it was just any match you would see on North American TV. And it was sort of a disappointment as a result because I was expecting this Saturday night's main event to be this sort of big event, I guess. I was expecting it to be this big show where a lot of cool stuff happened and I got a lot of good matches, and this sort of set the standard. Now you're just getting a lot of stuff you'd see on TV. So while this was good, it didn't really blow me away. The action was sort of basic, what you would expect from these guys, and nothing really moved it into an area where this match will be special or memorable going into 2025. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up was Liv Morgan versus Io Sky, and this match was really another disappointment. And I was more so disappointed in this match than Drew and Sammy because I had higher expectations for this match because Io is one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. Really proves it every time she's in the ring. And Liv, for her part, while I don't think she's quite to the level Io is, she's someone I'm pretty invested in. And I want to like her because I think I respect her a lot and the work she puts into her character and her storylines that when it comes into the ring, I really want to see her succeed. So had a lot of high expectations for this match, and not a lot of them were met. And it wasn't always necessarily due to the wrestlers. I feel like production had a side in it too. This was the biggest match for me that was hampered by the interruption of commercials. I feel like at the first start of the match, they were having a really good bout. Then the commercial break happened, and when it came back, everything sort of fell apart. When they came back from commercial break, it seemed like everything was just like 5% off, if that makes any sense. Like the crowd wasn't dead, they were just a little bit quieter than they were before the commercial break. And the offense wasn't bad, it was just a little too slow where you could see them sort of you could see the cooperativeness a little bit too much, just a little bit though. And some of the offense, like Io's German suplexes, they were just a little bit off. They weren't as impactful as they could have been or as they normally are. So it wasn't bad by any means. It was always just a little bit off. And I don't know what exactly happened with that because before the commercial break, that wasn't the case. The crowd was hot, the action was good, both women's offense looked perfect, impeccable from both sides, Liv and Io. Then they went to commercial and they just lost it a little bit. I don't really know what happened. It kind of sucks saying that because really I wanted this match to be good, and it looked like it could have been good. These women working together looked like we have a better match in us. It's just for some reason it's not clicking tonight. The action's not so bad that you can't watch it and enjoy it, but it's just a little bit off, so you can't really get fully invested in the story. And I feel like production also sort of had a negative quality to this because they weren't given as much time as I feel they should have been. They should have been given an extra 5 or 7 minutes to really make this feel like a big match, not just another mid TV match, another probably not even a Raw main event, honestly, probably just like smack dab in the second hour of Raw, that kind of match. So they didn't really do anything to elevate it to make the audience feel this is something worth getting invested in. And they never really made you believe Io was going to beat Liv either. And that's a hurdle they had to cross because everyone's pretty sure Liv is going to eventually drop it to Rhea. So you have to, in the body of the match, convince the audience that Io's going to win, and they just didn't have enough time to do it. I feel like even though the action was lacking a little bit, they were sort of set up for failure from the beginning. So, action wasn't great. In some spots it was, but in some spots it really wasn't. And production didn't really help them by giving a lot of time. So I gave this the exact same rating as the last match, 3.5 out of 5 stars. And after watching this match, it sort of really set the tone for the show for me where, oh, I'm not really getting anything special from this show. I shouldn't be excited about any of the other matches or anything big happening on this show because it's sort of just being presented to me as this mid tier show. And later down the line, we have a few title matches where I was maybe hoping a title would change, and this match really solidified no, you're not getting that. And to speak on the post match, when Rhea came out after to confront Liv, it just felt really weird. Like, these women have been at each other's throats for months. Like they have all this animosity. Rhea injured Liv, Liv injured Rhea, Liv stole Rhea's Man, Dom. Uh, and then they come out, Rhea comes out, and they just have a face to face. Like, no, they've been attacking each other for months, getting into physical confrontations every time they've been around each other. And now they come out and they just sort of look at each other at the top of the ramp. It was really sort of a devaluation of the story they had built up to that point, and it just felt so weird. Next up was a triple threat match: Damian Priest and Finn Balor going up against the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. And seemingly on lines and in wrestling circles, not a lot of people had high expectations for this match because the Finn and Damian feud is sort of worn out, and this is just a step on the way to giving us another match in that feud. So people weren't very excited about it. But I honestly had pretty high expectations for this. This is one of the matches I was most hyped about on the show because I felt going into this, it wasn't going to be great, but it was going to be fun. We weren't going to get sort of this classic work rate match that you could get from Gunther. But we were going to get this triple threat, lots of spots, a lot of fun. These three guys who are professionals. They know how to craft a good match. They know how to do these multi-man spot fests. So we were going to have a lot of fun. And really, in that regard, I was not disappointed by this match. This match was really nothing but fun throughout the entire time. And I feel like while I complained about Io versus Liv not getting enough time, and I will complain about that again later on the card down the line, this match I feel benefited from not having a ton of time because they couldn't fall into the classic triple threat trope where one guy sells on the outside, where two guys just have a normal match in the ring and then they swap out people in that puzzle. So it's really just a bunch of singles matches with one guy on the outside selling. They just had to cram all the stuff into about, I don't know, like 12 minutes around there. Um, and it was so much better as a result. They didn't have downtime. They just had to go at the beginning and not stop until the end. It set an absolutely frenetic pace right from the offset and continued that through the entire match. And if I were to say everything in this match was great, that would be a little bit of a lie. Some of the offense didn't look great. Some of Damien's stuff in particular looked a little bit weak. His crossbody off the top rope to Gunther, his flatliner to Finn didn't look amazing. And some of Gunther's elbows looked really weak as well. He was sort of doing a hammer and anvil style elbow, and it just didn't look particularly great. Finn looked great, I thought. I thought everything Finn did look great. But even though the action wasn't always great, the pace that they set and the spots that they chose to do were always phenomenal. And the ending to this match was absolutely awesome. They were just going so fast and hitting all of their big signature moves. Like at one point, Damien hit a razor's edge to Gunther, and Finn was on the top rope. So as soon as Gunther landed, he jumped and hit a coup de grace. And to win the match, Gunther hit a power bomb on Damian Priest onto the steel steps, then immediately got back into the ring, hit one on Finn, and got the pin. And the ending was definitely my favorite part of the match, but I feel like it exemplifies why the match is so good because it was fast paced, it was nonstop, it was all action, and it was taking these guys' normal repertoire of moves, the things you see them use in every match, their signature moves, and uniquely incorporating them into a triple threat environment. And I understand that saying, they worked with the stipulation well isn't the highest praise you can give for a match, but so often you don't get that from triple threat matches. You get guys just doing their normal moves, but not really effectively using the fact that there's another person in the ring with them. That can't be said for this match. I feel like the sequencing was so great the entire time. The way they set up moves, the way they sort of played off each other, where one guy would hit a move, then the other guy would come in and hit a move as well. It just all worked so well. And I was really impressed by this match. I felt this was probably an over delivery from the story we got leading up to this show. So this is a definite recommend for me. If you haven't seen this match, I would say go on to Peacock, try to find it somewhere because it was a lot of fun. Definitely the most fun match on the card. 4 out of 5 stars. Next up was the finals for the inaugural US Women's Champion. And not the finals I think a lot of people were expecting. We got Chelsea Green versus Meechin on this card. I think a lot of people were surprised that Bailey or Tiffany Stratton didn't factor into the finals, myself being included. Um, but a good final, I think. Because as soon as Chelsea Green came down to the ring, um, you just know you're going to be entertained, really. And not in the sense that you know you're gonna get a good match, because you're probably not. I think the expectation with Chelsea Green now is, hey, we're not gonna get a great match, but we're gonna have a lot of fun just watching her work her character traits over, because that's really what you expect from Chelsea at this point. Not good in ring, but a lot of fun to watch. And that was sort of the main MO of this match. It wasn't very good, but it was pretty entertaining throughout. Um, I feel like going in, I had pretty low expectations, so that probably helped me knowing I wasn't going to get a work rate classic, and I was just going to hopefully see some fun spots involving Piper Niven and some fun areas for Chelsea to flex her character. I was excited to see that, and I got that. So really, I wasn't too disappointed. And Mia Yim can work some good matches, but when she's in there with talent like Chelsea Green, she can't really carry a match. So the action was never good, I wouldn't say. It never really was like something you would be happy with if you were watching New Japan or AEW, but it was always entertaining and I was invested throughout the entire match. And if I can't give any other compliments in terms of work rate, at least I can say that. And maybe having such low expectations and going into a match saying, I know it's not going to be good, but entertain me anyway. Maybe that's not the best mindset to have. Maybe I should expect a little bit more from the biggest professional wrestling company in the world, but that's just what I expected from this match, and that's what I got from it. I will say, though, Chelsea's transition into the Unprettier at the end was legitimately great and very entertaining. So I gave it 2.25 star out of 5 matches. If you saw it on the night, you'll enjoy it, but not something I would necessarily recommend going out of your way to watch, unless you're a big fan of Chelsea Green. And now we are on to the main event, Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship. And right from the offset, before the bell even rang, this really had a big fight feel. It was the only match on the card that had a video package for it. The entrances felt big time. The commentary was putting it over big. Cody bringing out the winged eagle belt made it feel like this big special occasion. And them during their ring entrances also really helped add a tone and an atmosphere to this match. Kevin sitting up on the top turnbuckle, not emoting, just rubbing his hands together, staring off into the middle of the ring, not really showing that much emotion. And Cody really getting hype into it, trying to warm the crowd up, trying to get them into it, really, really going for it. It just set a character dynamic that would be followed up in the match that worked so effectively. So, right from the get go, this felt like the main event championship match. And one thing I'll say to this match's credit from the production side is that they used picture in picture in this match. And I had to ask myself, why didn't they do that for every single match? Because this match was so much better as a result of getting to see all of the action throughout it and getting to witness the complete story these two guys were telling in the ring. This match felt like the only really complete big main event match that I was seeing on the entire show. So I have to ask, why didn't they just do picture in picture for the whole show? So it wasn't a super long match. It was only about 15 minutes, but I think the picture in picture did really help to extend it and make it feel like a longer match, which is what this needed because there was good action throughout. I thought it was really good action throughout, probably better in my opinion than their first match at maybe Bash in Berlin. I don't remember exactly when they had their first match. I should probably have looked that up. A professional would have looked that up beforehand, but I'm definitely not professional. I'm just a dude standing in front of a closet. But anyway, the action was good throughout. They both looked great. It was not really anything you haven't seen from them before, just a lot of their signature moves, but the way they incorporated them to the match was very exciting. And they did a couple nods, each guy to Randy Orton throughout the match, which tied in some prior story beats, which was very nice to see. So overall, the action was, I would say, really good, at some points getting to great. I will say though, this really didn't feel like the big blow off match to one of the hottest feuds of the year. Like in WWE, apart from Punk versus Drew, The Bloodline, and Rhea versus Liv, this is the biggest story they've told all year. And it just didn't feel like the big match to end it. You know? Like the Bloodline got War Games and Punk versus Drew got Hell in a Cell, and this feud got a 15-minute match. It didn't really feel like the occasion that it was built up to feel like, both from the story coming in and, as I said earlier, from the entrances, from the Winged Eagle, from commentary, from the promo package. It The match just didn't really deliver on that big fight feel. Once again, probably because it was only given 15 minutes. And if they were allowed to go 20 or 25, like Cody normally does when he's in a pay-per-view main event with AJ or with Kevin Owens, as we saw earlier this year, he can deliver those big match feels. But here, we just didn't get that. It felt like just a normal match you would see Cody have. Like, there was nothing to differentiate this match from the match he had a couple weeks earlier on SmackDown with Chad Gable, or the match he had earlier in the year with Carmelo Hayes. And while I do think this match was better than those matches, it had the same tone of, oh, this is just another Cody title defense. It just didn't really click for me. I feel like it was a disservice to Kevin Owens' character. And I'm hoping that they continue the story going forward. Like they had I don't know if you guys saw this, but they posted on YouTube today, Kevin Owens after the match attacked Cody with a package pile driver and laid him out after the match with that. So I assume we're getting more going forward, and maybe the story beat will be something like Kevin saying, "Oh, you brought your winged eagle back. That's just another thing they handed you. They just wheeled this out for you on a silver platter. Well, now I'm taking it," because he took the belt at the end. Now I'm taking it and I'm holding it hostage, and they'll have another rubber match to for Cody to try to get that back. And I'll be honest, I was hoping for Kevin to win here. I think the story would be more interesting if Kevin won. Both characters would be better serviced if Kevin won here. And just really everything at the end, both those expectations. And I should say, the match wasn't bad because the outcome I didn't want to happen, or I wanted to happen, didn't. That didn't make the match bad, but the story of the match didn't do a good enough job about making Cody's win satisfying to the audience. Because a lot of people wanted Kevin to win here. A lot of people thought that'd be the most interesting story direction to take forward. And Cody, as great a worker as he was, and could have done this, wasn't able to convince us through the body of the match that no, I'm the champion. I'm the one who deserves to hold on to this belt going forward. So really, the outcome wasn't great. It didn't feel like the match these two should be having. It just sort of felt diminished. Like it felt lower stakes than the story building up to this deserved. So overall, great action throughout the match, a good story told in the body of the match, but not the match that this feud deserved. And it seemed like more of a stepping stone on the way to get to something great rather than this being a great match itself. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So a great match, but with the hope that we will get something better further down the line. So I guess my overall thoughts on the card as a whole are, it just felt a little bit mid. Like, if I was someone who wasn't a pro wrestling fan, I didn't watch WWE regularly, and I was just channel surfing, saw that this thing was on NBC, and decided to give it a go and give it a watch. This show didn't convince me that I should continue watching in the future. There was nothing on this show to really love. There wasn't a great angle. There wasn't a great match. There was just sort of a lot of stuff happening in front of you, some good, some very good, but nothing really great or exciting to convince me I should continue watching in the future. And I feel like they could have done that. They could have easily done that. Turn Drew Sammy into a squash, give Io and Liv an extra 5 or 7 minutes, keep the triple threat the same, shave a little bit of time off the US title match, and then give an extra 5 minutes to Cody versus Sammy to give them a satisfactory end to their story, or at least another beat on their storyline. But as it was, I feel like this event wouldn't get new fans interested in the product, and it doesn't make current, already invested fans like myself hopeful that future Saturday Night Main events will be must see television. And I didn't really do any research coming to the show. I didn't go back and watch any old broadcasts. I didn't do any research about what the expectations were for this show. I just sort of went in hoping this would be sort of a PLE pay per view level show to give me some great matches and great storylines. So maybe the feeling of being let down, the feeling that this was really just a mid show is on me. My expectations were too high and not what they were looking to deliver, because really, no title changes, no big storyline developments like at all, no really great matches. It just sort of felt a little bit mid. And maybe that's on me for having my expectations too high. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think having high expectations for a show or a product is necessarily a bad thing. And WWE isn't the company that likes to necessarily give you great matches every single week. They're more focused on characters and moments and storylines than great work rate. But that doesn't mean we can't get it at an event like this. You have world class talent. So why wouldn't you let some of them go, hey, Io versus Liv. Here's 20 minutes. Go out and have a great match. Cody versus Kevin. Here's 20 minutes. Go out and give the audience what they want to see. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you try to make every match just feel mid by giving every single one 10 or 12 minutes instead of making something impactful or something important? It just felt like this was such a mid-card show. It felt like a lot of the matches I saw in this show would be right at home on Raw or SmackDown, and that's not what you want from one of these shows. And going forward, my expectations will definitely be hampered for these kinds of shows. I'll go in knowing I'm not going to be getting anything special and shouldn't have expectations for these, but I just feel like that's not the tone WWE should have tried to strike with this show. So really, it was a okay show with some good to very good matches on the card. But I was disappointed. I don't know. I haven't gone on YouTube or Reddit to see what the rest of the wrestling community thinks. So I don't know where everyone else is at with it. Maybe everyone agrees with me, or maybe everyone thinks I'm insane and this is exactly what they were expecting. I'm not sure. But I feel personally the show did not live up to the names and the matches on the marquee, and I was disappointed with it as a whole. And those are my thoughts on WWE Saturday Night's main event. Sorry if it was a little bit of a down note to end on, but I was just sort of disappointed with the show. But let me know what you guys thought of it down in the comments. Am I way overreacting to this and I should have expected it to just be essentially another TV show from WWE to watch? Or were you guys disappointed by it a little bit as well? And tell me, what was the best match on the show? I think you could give arguments either way to Cody versus Kevin or the triple threat. I would personally give it to Cody versus Kevin, but let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, leaving a comment. It really does help a new channel like mine grow. Thank you guys very much for watching. I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and I'll see you next time.